exists where both of these can exist alongside, right? Where the traditional natural way of cultivating crops and the kind of procedure that these farmers adopt, and those crops also have a way of getting into mainstream sales, and that they get enough exposure out there in the markets and even with huge retail stores, along with the genetically modified crops that we're having, because removing them entirely from the ambit is not a solution because there's so much need with food security in view.
I think we can draw an analogy to the bane revolution, because initially when the bane revolution started, it also sparked up a controversy about it harming the farmers and not being good for them. However, it really helped like a lot of people at that time, considering India was going through a food crisis, and it helped resolve the food crisis to a great extent, and that's why we respect the farmer and the bane revolution. However, I think the need of the hour for us in order to stabilize the situation is to ensure that the government moderates these genetically modified crops, and it's not they're not present to such a large extent also, and they're moderated by the government, and like Masha said, in some sort of coexistence with the natural crops itself, so that the traditional culture that we have is not dying down at the same time. So the moderation is the need, and I don't think completely doing away with genetically modified crops is also a very viable option considering the situation at the moment.
So let's look at genetically modified crops from another angle. So the angle of not just the crops, but look at the harmful effect it has on other people around using the crops. For example, pests. How pests are developing certain genes which are giving us problems and new diseases coming on. Do you think these crops have a link to the new diseases that we see in the recurrence of those things? Do you think it has a connection to human beings? There are something called biomagnification that we talked about, that how from a small thing it comes down in large level and affects the whole of mankind. Do you think that's kind of an issue that we need to look at? Or do you think that it's acceptable to have this as long as we're feeding the population in India?
In the long run, we can also see that there's a lot of peanut allergy and other things allergy has come up like more frequently in the population. So I think this is also because of the genetically modified.
But also at the same time, no researchers or experiments have shown that actually genetically modified crops have caused any disturbances in the health system of the population. So we don't have any proof of it, so we can't basically say that it has actually happened. It's something that is
that this has happened?
It's actually something unknown that we are still researching whether it's actually due to genetically modified crops.
Since it is unknown, you must test it. It's a problem more than anything else. I think it's a problem more than anything else, because if you talk about this being unknown and you talk about this certain level of ambiguity that comes with it, that means that there hasn't been enough tests which have been conducted. So there has to still be more testing on genetically modified crops before it's available at the ground level for everyone. So this will be an adaptable thing.
1 second, I just one point. Why do you think testing felt important after so many years we got to be original been in
because if you're trying to expand it to things to more crops, like say the brinjal issue that was actually in India, it was a huge controversy. There needs to be a certain level of testing that needs to be done for that, because there are lots of new diseases which will come up, which I think is sort of linked to the fact that these crops haven't been tested to be put to the ground level.